gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to London, welcome to Westminster, home of the Palace of Westminster, aka the Houses of Parliament, and Big Ben, aka Big Ben. I think if you ask me, it's not technically what it's called. Big Ben's the bell inside, but I think if you ask most Londoners where the Queen Elizabeth Tower is, they'd have no idea what you're talking about or where it is. Ask them where Big Ben is, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. Anyway, enough about Big Ben. It's July, and that's what I would like to talk about and share with you today. July here in London, some of the key events that happen, and some of the things to do here in London during British summertime in general. It's July the 1st, and July the 1st is Canada Day, when Canadians will be celebrating being Canadian. So there will be big celebrations in Trafalgar Square, which is coincidentally right next to the Canadian High Commission Canada House. So there's always Canadian flags in Trafalgar Square, but today they'll be relevant to the actual event in Trafalgar Square. So let's head up to Trafalgar Square, which is just up here, and hoping to get some poutine. Wouldn't be Canada Day celebrations without poutine, so fingers crossed someone is supplying the poutine. Let's go. Okay, welcome to Trafalgar Square, where today's Canada Day celebrations will be taking place. I'm going to head in. The entrance will be at the top of the square, and see what's happening for this year's Canada Day, and try and find some poutine. Over here is Canada House, so home of the Canadian High Commission. The Canadian flags are flying there all the time, and as I was saying earlier, today they'll actually be relevant to the event in Trafalgar Square.
Canada Day is the National Day of Canada. It marks the anniversary of Canada becoming a kingdom of its own on July the 1st, 1867. So this year is Canada's 150th birthday. Obviously Canada existed before, but it was a significant milestone in Canada becoming more than multiple overseas colonies of the French and British empires. And ever-increasing independence was possible from that point until fully independent. Canada Day is a big celebration in Canada and for Canadian expatriates around the world. So with Britain and Canada maintaining very close links, the occasion is celebrated here in the very heart of London, especially by the very many Canadians here in London. So today Trafalgar Square hosts a celebration of all things Canadian. There is a stage with performances by renowned Canadian singers, comedians and theatre productions. We play hockey here at school in the UK, but it's not a big sport by any means. However, ice hockey in Canada is a big deal, so there are some hockey competitions happening. There is a children's hockey skills competition and a celebrity hockey tournament. There is Canadian inspired food and drink on sale, so plenty of maple goodies and poutine. I love poutine. I'll get some and share with any non-Canadians like myself who have never heard of poutine what you've been missing out on. And for Canadians missing comfort food from home, Tim Hortons have a truck serving coffee and donuts here.
The queue for poutine is pretty epic. Check this out.
Prizes, people, prizes. This might shift you even from the Tim Hortons lineup. I'm not sure, maybe. We got prizes. Is there anyone here from Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario?
It's the longest line I've ever seen for Poutine.
Niagara-on-the-Lake, great place. So we, in December 1970.
Okay, that is the start of the queue for Poutine. It's an hour and a half long. I can tell you that. So just come out the other side of it.
So this is the renowned Canadian poutine. It's French fries topped with cheese curds and gravy. It's basically what us Brits would call cheesy chips.
Right, let's try it. No poutine is good enough to queue for an hour and a half. It took some commitment. It's pretty good. Not an hour and a half good though. Let me show you again. Let me show you where you can get the real deal. Okay, welcome to Brick Lane in London's East End. Brick Lane's famous for a number of things: curries, street art, on Sundays, street food market that I'm at now. And yeah, if you're after Canadian poutine and you're not in town for Canada Day, here on Sundays there's a stall called the Poutinerie that do some of the best poutine in London. They're Canadian, but there's one British edition which makes it possibly the best poutine in the world. The Ribman's hot sauce. Ribman's a stall just opposite me here that sell ribs and phenomenal hot sauce. When you add that to poutine, it's a perfect recipe. Check it out. Okay, so let's try this. Chips, cheese curd, gravy, Ribman meat and hot sauce. That is phenomenal. The hot sauce makes everything taste better. So yeah, if you're in London and you want poutine, Poutinerie here on Sundays is the place to come.
This is the food Brick Lane is most renowned for: bagels, in particular salt beef bagels. There are two famous bagel shops almost next door to each other. I get asked quite frequently which is the best store. They're almost identical, so for me the best one is the one with the shortest queue on the day.
Okay, I'm going to enjoy my poutine here on Brick Lane, take a look at some of the market stalls and the shops, and I'll see you guys at the next event. Welcome back to Trafalgar Square. It's the 2nd of July. Ramadan ended last week, so today there's an Eid festival here in Trafalgar Square. Check it out. The smell of barbecue is phenomenal. Plenty of hijabs, halal food. Let's go and get some.
So what is Eid? Well, I'm not the best person to explain it to you because I'm not Muslim. However, I can share with you my understanding of it. There are 5 key pillars of Islam: faith, prayer, charity, fasting and pilgrimage. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar and considered the holiest month. And during this month it's obligatory for adults, with some exceptions, to fast from dawn until dusk. Eid marks the start of a new month, the end of Ramadan and the end of a month's fasting. So it's time for celebrations. In Muslim countries the day is a public holiday. Britain and London has a large Muslim community. However, as Britain is not a Muslim country, the public celebrations are held here in central London the following weekend. It's also more practical, there are more people free to attend, and been a few days after the end of a month's fast, everyone has had an opportunity to return to their normal disposition and really relax and truly enjoy the event. And the hot topic after a month's fasting, even on stage, is, you guessed it, food.
Who's from North Africa? There we go. You see, I think their cuisine is more similar to the Asian cuisine, would you say? Or more similar to like Mediterranean Arab?
Some people who want to fuel division. Are we going to let them? Are we going to let them succeed? No, we're not, because one of the great things about London is you can be who you are and you are accepted. You can be a Christian, you can be a Jew, you can be a Muslim, you can be a Hindu, you can be a Sikh, you can be a Buddhist, you can be a member of an organised faith, or you cannot. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be old, you can be young. You're not simply tolerated, you're respected, you're celebrated and you're embraced. And that's why London is the greatest city in the world. And you know, I have supreme confidence. We're going to stay strong and we're going to remain united, because you know what? We've got to make sure that we carry on being a beacon for the rest of the world. And I'm so proud to be your mayor. I'm so proud that many people here who aren't Muslims, but they're here today to celebrate Eid al Square. Let's give them all a big round of applause too. And do you know who else are here? Who else are here? These are people who, when there is danger, they run towards danger and make sure we are safe. There are people here, when there is a horrible fire, they run towards the fire and keep us safe. There are people here, when there is danger, they make sure that ambulances get there and paramedics get there. I want to show our love for the police officers, all the firefighters, all the paramedics, all the emergency services here. Let's show them all our love. We thank you. We thank you. So from my family to yours, Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum. Have a great day.
Sadiq Khan, thank you so much. Ladies and gents, the Mayor of London. I'd like to say Eid Mubarak to you. And how would...
Okay, I've gone for falafels and salad in a wrap. I've seen better looking falafels, I've got to be honest. Let's try falafels in London, Gabby's Deli, just up the road there on Charing Cross Road. Best falafels and hummus in this part of town. Right, I'm going to finish the rest of my falafels, check out some of the entertainment on stage, and I'll see you guys at the next event. Okay, welcome to London's Piccadilly Circus. Each summer one of the major events here in London is London Pride, and arguably the most fabulous and spectacular part of the annual Pride Festival is the annual Pride Parade. So let's go and check out some of the highlights of this year's parade.
Pride was started many years ago following big clashes in the USA between New York's gay community and the NYPD back in 1969. The first organised events were held shortly afterwards, and gay rights groups began to establish themselves in cities around the world, including the UK and here in London, fundamentally all working for greater acceptance of the LGBT community. When I was a kid, Pride had the atmosphere of a protest march. People would beam themselves publicly almost as an act of defiance, and like all protests, there was a sense of anger, obviously born of frustration. London has always been maybe more accepting and open than even much of the UK and certainly some other corners of the world. Here in the UK, society is more accepting of people's differences than it's ever been, seemingly with two big exceptions for those that follow them that are the same the world over: religion and politics. Today, the Pride Parade here in London has a carnival atmosphere. It's a phenomenal party where people can not only be themselves but celebrate being themselves. Equality and acceptance has come a long way in recent decades, but there is still further to go, and the world is very far from perfect. There are parts of the world where the penalties for simply being accused of being different in these ways carry severe penalties. So the party atmosphere is not without its critics who believe the event should be more political and activist in nature. However, I think for the individuals who were involved in the early LGBT rights movement, if they could see the Stonewall Monument in New York and this and other parades around the world, I think they would be proud that what they started is transitioning to what they could have only dreamed of. I guess Pride supporters no longer need to fight their way through London or the many other cities that host such events. Today, Pride can build community, and rather than fight the way, these events show and lead the way for the less accepting.
Some of the free concert. I'll see you guys at the next event. Okay, quick coffee stop. Department of Coffee and Social Affairs, just off Carnaby Street. Very good. Welcome to London's iconic Carnaby Street. Shot to prominence in the 1960s, the swinging 60s here in London. Not just here in London, became famous globally. It's lined with fashion and beauty stores, and then in all of the back streets, either side of it, and Kingly Court at that end of it, are filled with coffee shops, restaurants, bars. There's even still a couple of underground clubs. Every generation since the 60s says it's changed, not in a good way. However, fundamentally, it still does exactly the same thing. It sells fashion to the young and fashionable, and the not so young and not so fashionable, no longer so beautiful. The age of equality. But yeah, and it's still a place for the fashionable to be seen and socialise in all the restaurants and bars. But yeah, if you're in town, definitely come and check out Carnaby Street. I'm actually here parallel with Carnaby Street is London's Regent Street, which for a month of Sundays each summer in July, they shut to traffic, pedestrianise it, and it's filled with entertainment, pop-up street food sellers, and all sorts of events throughout the month. It changes slightly each week, so yeah, let's take a look at what's on this year's Summer Streets. It's not an idea unique to London, Summer Streets, pedestrianising major shopping streets, and Regent Street isn't the only one to do it here in town, but it is the biggest of its kind. Check it out. Okay, enjoy my coffee. I'm going to start at the Piccadilly Circus end, see what's on today.
The Summer Streets event takes place every Sunday throughout July from 12 till 6 PM. This is Summer Street's 5th year here on Regent Street. Regent Street is one of London's most famous shopping streets and destinations. Many global brands have their flagship stores here. Many of the surrounding streets like Carnaby Street, where we began, are also iconic and filled with stores, restaurants and bars. Usually it is also one of London's busiest roads, so being traffic free lets visitors discover Regent Street in a whole new way. There is a pop-up food market bringing together a selection of the best drinking and dining destinations from across Regent Street and St James's. There is live music which will fill the streets with a summer-inspired soundtrack in dedicated entertainment zones at intervals all along Regent Street. And alongside all of the amazing traffic-free events, many of the stores will also be holding in-store events. Some will be providing shoppers with complimentary drinks and snacks, and there are limited edition cocktails and limited edition menus on offer in many of the bars and restaurants.
Okay, Regent Street stretches all the way from down by the mall up to Regent's Park. The pedestrianised part of Summer Streets runs from Piccadilly Circus to here, Oxford Circus. So I've walked the entire length of the pedestrianised part. I'm going to head back down and check out some more of the amazing entertainment, maybe try some of the phenomenal street food. So I'll see you guys in a little while. So it's the end of the month, the end of July. It's still British summertime. You can tell from the rain, the wind, and the completely overcast grey skies. I think I've managed to capture and share some of the major cultural events that happen here this month and each British summertime. However, there's so much to see and do here in central London. I've barely scratched the surface of the pop-up events, let alone the permanent fixtures. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at some of the key cultural events. Hope you found it insightful. If you're planning a trip here and if you're an armchair traveller, an interesting look at life here in London. I thought I would finish near where I began, here in Westminster, and by Big Ben and check out some of the progress with the repair and restoration works that are underway. Big Ben hasn't had any real major restoration work carried out since the early 1980s. So this year they began a project of conservation work on the clock tower, and they'll be servicing the clock mechanism, which the project will involve scaffolding the whole clock tower. They're up about as high as the roof of the Palace of Westminster right now. Check it out.
So although the Big Ben restoration project is expected to last 3 years, the plan is to try to minimise the impact of the works for visitors. So the upper parts of the scaffolding will be more open, and they plan to have the clock running and chiming as much as possible when it's not being serviced. There is not actually a timetable of works. I don't think they will actually know the full scope of the work required until they get up there and begin taking it apart. However, the plan is to have at least one dial visible at all times, but obviously these essential works will have an impact on tourist photo opportunities over the coming months.
The clock is still telling the correct time and it's still chiming. Presumably they won't start work on the actual clock mechanism until the scaffolding reaches the clock dials. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little look at London during the month of July. And I'll see you next time. Toodles.